prepositions and determinists and conjunctions are the last sort of types of word really. So they're the three types of word really that if you classified every word in a sentence, there'd be the three that were left over if you took out all the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, the adverbs. These are kind of the short words that join bits of sentences and bits of phrases and clauses together. They're quite good, probably not really to analyse on their own massively, but they're good as a way in to start talking about grammar, because you know if you see these types of words and can recognise them, that you can probably then say something about grammar. So, prepositions, the function they serve is that they show how two parts of a sentence are related. Okay, so it's words like in, on, for, at. Those are your prepositions, your little words. Okay, I can see a tree in the garden. I have an appointment on Tuesday. It links those two things together. Often prepositions are linked in with adverbs. So I have an appointment on Tuesday. So the on Tuesday is your adverb of time. It tells you when the appointment, when the appointment that you have takes place. So they are sort of linked to those, but it's those little words. Usually we get them before nouns or pronouns. So I went into the city, I was on time, I gave the book to her. Often they are linked to nouns because they show a relationship between nouns. But not always. So you might see words like, or phrases like at last, or by far, or until now, or in there, where they're before adjectives or they're before adverbs. So these little words can sort of go, in a few different places in sentences. Now, if you get a group of words with a preposition at the start of it, it's known as a prepositional phrase. And this is touching on grammar, and we'll look at this in the grammar videos a little bit more. But it's worth knowing that if you see a preposition, the group of words linked to it afterwards are going to be your prepositional phrase. So I saw a car with a red roof. The with a red roof starts with your preposition. That's your prepositional phrase. Okay, with a red roof describes the car. In the morning, we went home. So in the morning starts the preposition. Those three words in that phrase, in the morning, they're your prepositional phrase. We went home. Again, notice that also is an adverbial. In the morning, we went home. When did the going home happen? When did that verb happen? In the morning. It's an adverb of time. So often these prepositional phrases serve as other things as well. They'll often serve as adverbials as well. But if it's a group word, starts with your preposition, that's your prepositional phrase. So in this list of sentences, you might want to pause the video and identify the prepositional phrases. The first one as an example, on the Tuesday it rained all day. So on the Tuesday, on is your preposition, was like on, in, at, for. They're your prepositions. On the Tuesday is your preposition. Again, notice it works as an adverb of time. Okay, when did the raining, the verb, happen? On the Tuesday. It's an adverb of time as well. Okay. There's a few different types of preposition then. Most of them are about space or about time, and that's why often these prepositions and prepositional phrases come in adverbials, because they come in adverbs of time or adverbs of place. They tell us where or when the verb happened. So space ones, you've got to, at, on, off, in, onto, out of, between, across. Okay, they tell us where things happened. Time, tell us when. At, on, in, during, throughout, until, since. Notice some of them are in both lists. On, for example, because on can refer to the time, on Tuesday. Okay, but it can also refer to the place, on the table. Same with in 10 minutes time. Okay, or in the morning can be time, but it can also be place, in the kitchen. So some can use both. On, in can be both the time or the space. So again, it's not about the word, it's about knowing what is it doing. Is it telling us about time? Is it telling us about space? There are others. These are less common, but we get them quite a few. So cause, so he was fined for the offence, or she did it out of kindness. Literally, that tells us why did something happen, what was the cause of it. They might tell us the means, so how did it happen, with a pen, by bus. Again, notice most of these are also adverbials. She wrote with a pen, that's an adverbial. It describes how did she write. I travel by bus. How do you travel? By bus. They work as adverbs as well. Possession, that's a pianist of talent. Travel box, with a lead, they show talent, they show ownership of something. Or concession, so when something happens despite something else. They drove despite the weather. I stayed in spite of the heat. So these are your sort of types of prepositional phrase that are going on. The key thing to know is if you see a preposition, you see a group of words around it, you can comment on why has it been added and what's the impact that it's having. Right, conjunctions. Conjunctions are your joining words. You might know them as connectives, and, but, so, however. They're your conjunctions. They join bits together. Prepositions also join, but they give us a bit more in information about where, when, cause. Conjunctions join separate clauses. They add parts of sentences together to make a whole. They can join, they connect. You might also know them as connectives. So most common ones are your coordinating. That's and, that's but, that's so. They join two equally important bits of information. So they might join two nouns or two adjectives or two main clauses. They are of equal value. I saw a car and a bus, or I saw a car and I saw a bus. They're equally important bits of information. The kids were wet and filthy. Mary went to York and Hillary went to Leeds. In each case, that they are of equal value. The things on either side, they're either both nouns, both adjectives, both proper nouns, and, or, and but are your main ones. I think so I'd also put in there. They join equally important bits of information together. Subordinating ones, and again, this is where the word class is tied totally to grammar, because if you see subordinating conjunctions, you know you can start talking about grammar, because subordinating conjunctions bring in different bits of information, or extra or additional less important bits of information. The ones you're going to be looking for are although, if, since, unless, whereas, while, and those are always subordinating, so they are not going to be used they're not going to be coordinating, that they are always subordinating. They always bring in extra, additional, less important bits of information. Other ones you might see in order, that, such that, assuming that, so that, in case. These all add conditions, or they add reasons, or they add justifications, or they add background bits of information, and that's what your subordinating conjunctions are doing. The great thing about seeing these conjunctions is if you know, if you see them, you know you've got a subordinate clause, and you can start talking about grammar. So John will go to the cinema if you go with him, okay? Whereas the ands, buts, so's add equally important bits of information. John will go to the cinema, and so will Jenny, or whatever you want to add to that. They're of equal importance. Here, John will go to the cinema if you go with him. It's the condition. It's adding the background information by which that will happen. Or John got to the house before the removal van arrived. It tells us the when. Again, it works as an adverbial. It tells us when did that happen. It's extra supplementary bits of information. It's not joining equal parts of the sentence. So one clause depends on the other, or as it says there, the red parts on their own don't always make sense. That's a good rule of thumb, although occasionally that doesn't always quite work. It's not always as simple as main or independent clauses make sense on their own and subordinating ones don't. But it's a good rule of thumb to use. They give us extra conditions, extra bits of information, extra background information. Determinists we touched on when we looked at pronouns, okay? Just to go into some in a tiny bit more detail, you put them in front of a noun to make it clear what that refers to, okay? These are your types, okay? So the is a determiner because you put the before the noun, okay? That's known as a definite article because it refers to something really specific. The book refers to only that book. Indefinite ones are and, so bring me a book. That could be multiple different books. There's no correct one that you could get. So definite, it's one thing. Indefinite, it's multiple things. Demonstratives, this, that, these, those. We looked at demonstrative pronouns. I said imagine yourself pointing. Bring me that, bring me those. Demonstrative determiners are exactly the same except you put the word after it. So if I said bring me those and pointed to some shoes, those is working as a pronoun because I've not said the word shoes. But if I said bring me those shoes, those is a determiner. It tells you which shoes you need. You get possessive determiners. So my book, so mine would be a pronoun. That's mine because you wouldn't say the word book. But my book, my is a determiner. Okay, there's others there. It's there. Quantifiers tell you numbers. A few, a little, much, many, a lot, most, some, any, enough. It's about numbers, isn't it? It's about amounts. You might also have specific numbers, 1, 10, 30. Bring me 30 books. Bring me 30 pages. So numbers are specific actual numbers. Quantifiers are amounts, but not with numbers attached. Distributives all both, half, either, neither, each, every. So kind of what fraction almost of the things that you want. Difference words, bring me another book, bring me another shoe. And predeterminers such what, rather quite. You probably have them before another determiner. Okay, so such a book, or what a pair of socks, what a shoe. They come before other determiners. Okay. Don't get too bogged down in all these. If you know them, great. But if you know that it's determined, you know it's definite or indefinite, they're going to be your main ones you're talking about. So going back to these texts, I've highlighted some of the determiners and some of the conjunctions, and some of the prepositions. So the Guardian view on the 2019 election, definite determiner, okay, because it's a specific election that's happened, whereas a new political landscape is indefinite, okay, because they don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they know that something's going to change. You get a prepositional phrase at the end of that first paragraph. Scottish independence will move to the centre of the stage. Where is it moving? To the centre of the stage. So it works also as an adverbial, because it tells you where metaphorically it's moving, but that is a prepositional phrase, okay? It shows the importance of the Scottish independence. Facts are sacred, so any response. So that's a conjunction, that's a coordinating one. It joins equally important bits of information. In this case, the sentence starts with the conjunction. That doesn't often happen, but we get it here that's linking to that sentence before. With 365 seats, again another prepositional phrase. It gives you a bit more supplementary information on what they have, but notice the Tories, again the definite article, it's a specific political group. They're governing for a full term with a working majority. So again, it's showing kind of ownership. It's showing what they have, what they have. That prepositional phrase shows the power that they have. And then it is a party triumph because that's a subordinating conjunction. It's a party triumph is your main bit of information because it's your reason, it's your background bit of information. So we know the next bit is a subordinate clause. It gives you conditions, it gives you more information. I won't go too much into grammar at this stage, but we know if we can spot these words that we can talk about it because we know which bits are going to be your subordinate clauses. Compare that with the Jeremy Corbyn letter. So he issues first apology in personal letter. So that's a prepositional phrase. It draws attention to the fact that this is personal, that this is probably quite painful for him, that the Mirror have got the inside story from the man himself. Notice we get it later on. Jeremy Corbyn vowed to turn around in a personal letter written to Sunday Mirror readers. So again, it's a prepositional phrase. It works like an adverb because it describes the writing of the letter, but who's it to? Just to readers of the Sunday Mirror, just to readers of that paper. So it shows the importance and the fact that these readers have got an inside story, and that's what that prepositional phrase is starting to add. Notice in the next bit I've highlighted that word and. So Labour will learn from its election disaster and listen to voters. A good example of a coordinating conjunction, and is coordinating conjunction. It joins equally important bits of information because they will learn from the election disaster and listen to voters. Those two bits of the sentence are the same. They both start with a verb and then follow with the complement or the object of that verb. So it's equally important bits of information. Neither one of those is subordinate. They're both equally important. It's a coordinating conjunction. And then we get in the Ali Ross, the review, those Channel 4 lefties, so a really good demonstrative determiner, them over there, he's marking himself as different. They quit laughing. When did they quit laughing? At 10 p.m. So that's an adverbial, an adverb of time. It's also a prepositional phrase. When did they quit laughing? At 10 p.m. Okay, so it starts with the preposition at. Again, notice the significance of what happened with the exit poll and how that completely changed everything. He starts in time-honoured election fashion. So he starts with the prepositional phrase. Yeah, he's going to ask us, but he's asking us in the election fashion. He links it. He gives this idea that he knows about these elections, he's seen others, and this is a kind of running joke between him and the reader. And then we used to look for the Nish Kumar moment, that definite determiner there. It's not just a moment, it's a really important, significant individual moment that we can just call the Nish Kumar moment. He implies that we know exactly what he means. He carries on, cause I was. So because is a subordinating conjunction, normally brings in background bits of information. Here he uses non-standard English because obviously he calls it cause, but he also starts a sentence with it. So he's joining bits of information. It should be one sentence. Please tell me you were because I was. That's your subordinate clause. Please tell me you were because I was. That's a background bit of information. That's the extra condition that he's bringing into the sentence. But here he separates it into two. And then notice it's hosted by Christian Guru Murphy, and later on he made me howl with laughter. So coordinating conjunction, two bits of equally important information. But notice the prepositional phrase first. For the first time, one prepositional phrase. In his career, another prepositional phrase that sets up this idea that Ali Ross does in no way likes or rates Christian Guru Murthy, and he makes a joke that the only time he could make him laugh is because he's really annoyed at the outcome of the election, and Ali Ross takes pleasure in that. Okay, so that's how these determinists, conjunctions, and prepositions can work.